All right, so today we are going to be finding volume of prisms and cylinders, which we found, during this week we've done our prerequisites. We found our area of circles and squares and trapezoids, all those things. So now we're going to be working on volume. We do have two vocabulary words, cylinder and prism. The first one, cylinder, is a three-dimensional figure with two parallel congruent circular bases connected by a curved lateral surface. Now, that's a big fancy definition. You guys all know what a cylinder looks like. You know, it looks like a Coke can or a soup can or something like that. A prism is a polyhedron that has two congruent polygon-shaped bases and other faces that are all parallelograms. Okay, you guys are typically, whenever I say prism, you'll probably think about a rectangular prism, like a box, like maybe a shoe box or something like that. But you can also have triangular prisms, and a triangular prism looks like, I don't know, a box with triangles on the end of it, I guess. And we'll have a couple of examples of those here in just a moment. In fact, let's take a look at our next slide here. Now, you don't have to copy this down in your notes. However, I do want you to understand what the bases of these shapes are. Okay? The bases of a prisms and a cylinder are the shapes that are parallel to each other, I guess is what we could say. Like a triangular prism. If you have a triangular prism, the triangle is the base. Even if it's not sitting on that shape, because a lot of times a triangular prism will actually be sitting on this rectangle right here. That'll be what it's sitting on, which some of you guys might consider the base, but it's not. Okay, the triangle is always the base of our triangular prism. Now, in a rectangular prism, it doesn't matter quite as much because the work is going to be the same. The formula is going to be the same. A cylinder is pretty simple on that one as well, because you know that the base of a cylinder is always going to be a circle, because you can't set the cylinder on its side or it'll roll away. Okay, so just be careful whenever you're calculating the triangular prism. Make sure you always use the triangle as your base. All right, let's take a look at our next slide. I'm mostly concerned with the formulas that we have here. Okay, the formulas that I have, it says volume is big B H. Now, the big BH, that's the formula for finding the volume for any prism. But the big B doesn't mean base. Okay? Little b means base. Big B means the area of the base. Okay? So make sure that you're aware of that. The big B is the area of the base. Okay, that's what that is. That's what that means. So that's how come the formula for a prism can be the same as the formula for a cylinder. Now, the work's not the same. That's not what I'm saying. The work's not the same. But the area of the base times the height, that is our formula for finding the volume of a prism or a cylinder. Okay? Now, so what kind of base is on this prism up here, this pink prism? Yeah, it's a rectangle. So we know we have to find the B is the area of a rectangle. Well, how do we find the area of a rectangle? Yeah, length times width. Okay? So this B right here, I guess, would actually be length times width and then times height. So you could almost say that this formula right here would be like length times width times height. That's going to get you the same. That's going to get you the answer for a rectangular prism. Now, is that going to get you the answer for a triangular prism? No, because remember, on a triangular prism, your area of the base is base times height divided by 2. Okay? Now, on the cylinder, if you notice, it gives you another formula underneath here, which is the same thing. It's the big BH, but it's giving you the formula for the area of a circle. That's what this pi r squared is. Remember, we've been doing that for the last 2 days. Pi times radius squared gives us the area of our circle. Once we have the area of our circle, multiply that times the height of your cylinder, and that gives you the volume of the cylinder. Okay? All right, let's take a look at Our next example says find the volume of the figure, and this is a rectangular prism, tells us that right here. Okay. Now remember, our formula for the volume of a rectangular prism really is big BH, but we know that that's really going to be length times width times height. Okay. So what is our length on this one? It could be either one of those, actually. We could call it 2. What is our width? 5. What is our height? Okay, so 2 times 5 is 10, times 3 gives us 30. So we know the volume of this rectangular prism is going to be 30. In fact, it's going to be 30 cubic units. And anytime you see that, it'll be look like centimeters with a little 3 up there, and that just means cubic units. Now, what does that mean? Well, that actually means you could fit 30 cubes inside of this rectangular prism. That's what it's telling us. Okay? But rectangular prisms are fairly simple. I don't think you guys are going to have any problems with those. All right, let's take a look at our next one. We have a cylinder. Okay, again, if you notice, our formula is the same. Volume equals big BH. Remember, what is the big B? The area of the base, yes. And what's our formula for area of the base is a circle. So what's the formula for area of my circle?
Pi squared times
Pi r squared, yes. So really, our formula is going to look like this. We're really going to do pi r squared, and I'll put that in parentheses, times the height of the prism. Okay? Now, don't get overwhelmed by these, because I know a lot of times you guys will look at these and say, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this, so much work. Well, it's really not. Write your formula down and plug in your numbers that you're going to use. Okay? Again, we know that pi is 3.14. Okay? Times, what is my radius of my circle here? Yeah, 4, so we know that that's going to be 4 to the second power times, what is the height of my cylinder? 12. Now that we have that, now it's not hard. We're doing 3.14 times 4 to the second power times 12. Well, when we do all that, what do we get? 600 what? 602.88. Excellent. In fact, this problem says round to the nearest tenth, so we would have to round that guy right there, which would give me what, 602.9? Uh-oh. It would help if I wrote down the right number. But that's not hard. We did the exact same thing we've been doing the last 2 days, but now we're multiplying it times one more number, the height. And you have a calculator, so that's not going to be hard. Okay? Let's take a look at our next one. All right, our triangular prism. Now, this one actually does you a favor and puts the base shape, actually sets it on it so it looks like a base. Won't always look like that, but that is the base of that triangle. So, again, I know that the volume is big BH. Well, what is the big B going to be on this one? What's the formula for finding the big B on this one? Well, not numbers. How do we find the area of a triangle, I guess? Yeah, base times height divided by 2. So, again, the first thing I'm going to do is write down my formula, because I know I'm going to have to do base times height divided by 2, and then I'm going to multiply all that times the height of my prism. Okay? Which this one's kind of interesting because I have h in there twice, but the numbers are actually going to be different. So we'll talk about that. Now, let's substitute those values in. So I know my volume is going to be the base times height of my triangle. Looks like the base is 6 and the height is 5. Divided by 2. Then I'm going to multiply that times the height of the prism. What is the height of the prism? Yeah, the height of the prism is actually 7 right here, because I'm talking about how tall the whole shape is, not just the base, not just the triangle. So yes, it's going to be 7. All right, so whenever I solve that, I know that 6 times 5 is 30. Divided by 2 is 15. So I have 15 times 7, which gives me what? Yeah, 105. So I know the volume for this is going to be 105, what is it, feet, cubic feet. Okay? Again, that's not that hard, as long as you do it a step at a time. Okay? Plug your numbers into your formula, do it one step at a time, you'll get it right. Now, if you try to jump around and do things in maybe a different order, you might possibly end up getting it wrong. Okay? So be careful in that. All right, let's take a look and let's see. Do we have any more, or was that the last one? That was the last one. Okay, so are there any questions on how we solve for volume on a prism or a cylinder? No? Excellent. Then let's get to work.